This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
All right, how you getting on, you whale? I'm a horse. My voice is hoarse, of course, right now, and I feel, oh my God. Hey, am I a numbered collection of used towels? Because I'm in rag order. I'm ropey. To quote Bilbo Baggins, I feel like butter spread over too much bread. I feel weak. And I'm about to go on Radio 1 to chat to Ray Darcy in about an hour. I don't know. I feel like I feel like he's going to ask me something and I'm going to go, my ears are going to get red hot. And I'm going to be, So hopefully you heard that yesterday. No, look, was that a stag there? Jeez, I almost had an anxiety attack thinking about that. No, it can't happen. Manifest charm. I need to manifest. Where did I even pull that from? Do you know what? It was actually just the fact that I was so hungover that I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? You hear those stories as well sometimes. Sometimes you do. More often than not, you hear. I turned into a science experiment where they show water pressure in a can of Coke. I crinkled up into my shins anyway, but look, it's going to be great. We had a wonderful time at the stag. I feel like I'm more tired just from standing than anything else, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of standing be going on. I mean, we're sitting as well. And I was lying down a lot. But, hey, look, more standing than I'm used to. Came back with a big sore arse. Was also not related. I came home as well. Yeah, my bed wasn't enough beds at the stag. Fine. Hey, haha, lads, we don't care. Haha, bit of banter. But it was well organised. Apart from so I ended up sleeping on a blow-up mattress. That was deflating. Looking at it was deflating before I even decided it was my bed. And my buddy next to me, whenever he got out of it, it wasn't as taut, and then I was lying on the ground. And then whenever he got back into it, he's kind of those in those water parks, you have those big kind of balloons that someone lies on one end, then someone jumps on the other side and it fucking catapults them into the air. It was that kind of vibe when he got into bed. So I was mostly like lying with my butt straight on the floor. I'm like, yeah, lads, banter, class, but bed would have been nice. And, breakfast, fucking lads, fry up and all that, but I had a fruit bowl. Wouldn't have got a miss. Do you know what I mean? The next stag, do you know what? I'm bringing in those fucking creature comforts. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you call me. I don't give a shit, what you might think. I rock up there with a fruit plate, a bit of granola, a bit of yogurt. My hands will be chewed to stumps just by putting it down on the table. From the ravenous boys who would love it. So anyway, I had a wonderful time. But what did happen though, which was a bit scary, was obviously Storm Ashley. Shout out to my sister Ashley. She's manifested into a storm. Storm Ashley was kicking off, and the lad who owned the island that we were on was kind of like, now lads, just let you know, we'll have to move pretty quick when we pick you up on Sunday. I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I was like, just let you know now, actually lads, we're actually going to be picking you up bang on 9, on Sunday. I was like, yeah, no problem. Cut to Sunday. Luckily we were already awake because there was a lot of loud snorers in the room. We were always having a little giggling, a little slumber party, kind of little shut up you. We're wrapped up in our duvets, it was all gas. And then the best man came in and said, look, it's kicking off out there, it's getting hot and heavy, which is a description of a storm, but it was actually quite cold and windy. But either way, then two of the Coast Guard were there, and it's the first thing in the morning, it's still dark out, and they're like, got to get in the boats right now, lads, got to get in the boats right now. And I immediately turned into a Cal from the Titanic, looking for a child to pretend was my own, being like, please, she's all I have, trying to get on the first boat. But we got off. So, obviously you wouldn't be getting most sleep at the best of times at a stag, but then to have, to be awake from the snoring, to be literally lying pretty much on the ground on a blow-up mattress is not working, and then to have the Coast Guard coming in full fucking wet work gear. It was like a mission from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Them lads coming in, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna get fucking blasted in the face here. But they were actually, no, we're just here to save your life. It was very early in the morning. So that, it's been all go. And then I was in bed with the kids yesterday, and my daughter didn't sleep very well. So I don't feel very, very good. But I tell you what, I hopefully, on the day of this podcast releasing, will be in much better form because it's my birthday today. Look, guys, please chill out. Please don't be sending me like loads of birthday messages or whatever. You know what I mean? It is my birthday today. And what I like to do on my birthday sometimes, I've only done it twice, is give advice that I wish I'd gotten 10 years previous. So when I was 33, I gave 33 pieces of advice that I would give to my 23-year-old self. And then I did it for 36. And then I thought, you know what? Since this is actually coming out, bang out on my birthday, I may as well do 37 as well. So we're racking up the numbers here. We had previously, 69 pieces of advice. With this 37, what are we at now? 106 bits of advice I'm giving out to you for free because I love you so much, all right? And because there's so much in this one, I'm just going to get straight to it, all right? That sound good? Great. That's what we're doing. My first piece of advice is, right, and it's actually kind of within the theme of this podcast of tips that you would give to yourself. Compare yourself. People are always like, don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to how you were last week, right? And I'm like, do you know what? The odd time, why don't you compare yourself to who you were 10, maybe even 20 years ago? Maybe even 30 years ago, and celebrate the progress. People think just getting from teenage to like your 20s and your 30s is just like, it's natural or whatever. But you do still have to grow. And, a lot of people don't. A lot of people stay the exact same from when they're like 17. So I was thinking about this recently. I was there. It was like quarter to 10. Me and Terry were watching Bake Off. And I was like, I'm going to drive to the shop and get cake. And she's like, all right. I'm like, I'm going to do that because I'm an adult. And she's like, all right, whatever. No shit. But you know what I mean? Imagine saying to your ma at quarter to 10 when you were a kid, Mom, can we go to the shop now and get a cake? She'd be like, why are you it's your fucking problem. You're upsetting me now with that. Kind of carry on saying something like that. That is so insane you would ever suggest that. So with my own disposable income and my own car that I'm licensed to drive, I went to the shop and got cake and came back and we had the cake. And it was probably a bad idea. It was too late. I was up too long, but still, and I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing now. If you're ever doing something right now that if you told yourself 30 years ago that you could do that and they'd be blown away, then celebrate it. Fist pump the air. You know what I mean? We're all making progress. Here's a second one for you, right? A drink before a speech, right? You might think it'll make you feel better, but it'll actually always make the speech worse every single time. I've never once seen anyone have drinks and that do better. And from experience, I perform much worse when I've had a couple of drinks. And I convinced myself for the first while doing stand-up or even speeches and stuff that like I needed them. But let me tell you what's going to happen here, right? You might think it's going to make you feel better, but it's actually just going to numb you a little bit. And that's not really what you want. You think when you're nervous that numbness will make it kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? You'll be able to deliver a speech a lot cooler because you'll be a bit more numb because of the drink. But the reality is what actually that limits is your ability to turn nerves around into something. You lose control of what you should normally do when you're nervous. If you're sober and you're nervous, bit cringe, bit tough. You get through it, you power through it. If you're drunk and you're nervous, you kind of lose the anchor point of what a normal you looks like gets further and further away, and it's really hard to latch onto. So I know you might think, a lot of people are like, do you know what? It might make the speech worse, but it'll make me better. It actually will make it worse for both. So I would recommend. It's tough though in a wedding when you have a speech. You're like, I wouldn't mind just having a couple of scoops now. To be fair, this is getting a bit tough. It's getting a bit boring now, not having a scoop. But I would highly recommend it. Number 3, if you messed up, don't go like fucking over promising what you're going to do to fix it. I had a very bad habit of doing that. I'd be like, okay, sorry, I forgot your birthday, but I am going to get you a computer. And I'm like, shut. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it? You're making this very uncomfortable. It's no big deal. Do you know what I mean? No, I'm going to get you like a fucking car. And then you got that extra thing. It's almost like just delaying delaying the embarrassment in the moment to kind of kick it down the road, but then kind of, there's a lot of times you can do that, end up making a weirder situation just by kind of over-promising something down the line. It's much easier just to kind of fess up to something, not say anything, and if you do get a present down the line, it'll be a nice little bonus. Oh, hey, look at this. I have a bad habit of not getting presents on time, but then I get to see the solo delight of me giving someone a present 6 months after their birthday, and they're like, oh my God, it's almost more credit than you would get than giving it on their actual birthday. That's not why I do it tactically. Number 4, if your gaff is a shithole and you're like, fuck, what am I going to do? Invite people over to your gaff. Tell them to come over either that night or in a week's time for like dinner, and you'll get your gaff in order. And you might even end up doing those things that you left on a long finger. You got like a load of posters you were looking to get frames for, or all the kind of things you were going to, the wall hangings are just kind of leaning against the walls where you think you're going to put them, or you got a big box full of stuff that you're going to put on the bookshelf at some point. It might actually motivate you. A lot of the time people think, oh, when it's ready, when it's looking good, that's when I'll have people over. But you're actually much better off doing it when you're in the shit. Number 5, unclog the drain. Jesus, my voice. Unclog the drain. This is an applicable thing. I think that there is a lot of bad ideas before there's good ideas, and you have to get them out first. And there's a lot of bad thoughts before you have good thoughts, and you have to get them out first. And you need to also respect that there's time that you need to take. So in the morning, I like to do, when I remember or when I prioritize it, like a bit of journaling. You do like morning pages thing where I write like 3 pages on an A4 pad, longhand. And then sometimes that takes me too long, and I end up just writing a to-do list or whatever. Either way, just get the shit out. I also find this is a handy technique of like being angry with someone. Just get the shit, unclog the drain first so you can get clarity. There's a lot of murky fucking water always going on in there, and it's very important that you unclog the drain. Also, respecting the fact that you're probably going to come up with a lot of bad ideas in like a brainstorming session with someone before you kind of come up with good ideas. So it's okay to get those out, or write down 20 bad ideas first before you go into the brainstorming session. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes there's just respect that there is a drain that has to be unclogged. So it's better to kind of do that maybe in private before you then have the clarity and the clear water that you show everyone else. And also that's the same with like anything, any creative endeavor. Just unclog all the bad shit, bad joke, bad painting, bad first draft of a song. It's just all about unclogging the drain, and respect that. It's a bit of cleaning, do you know what I mean? It's like, all right, we found this old pool that we're going to turn to a skate park. You're not going to jump in the fucking murky water now, are you? You got to unclog it. You got to clean it. And that's part of it. And then you can skate. So just respect the process. Number 6, social media will actually make you forget who you are, what you want, and what you've done. This is a revelation I had recently where I had actively kind of chosen that I wasn't going to like tour. Recently, I had a tour last year, but I was taking a year off just to kind of actually write. And then I saw other people touring, and I was like, I'm a piece of shit. Why am I touring? And then I would come on my phone and be like, oh, I planned to not tour so I could write, So like, it's mad just how not only are you getting FOMO for the thing that you're not having right there and then. You might see someone on a holiday and you're like, I wish I was on holiday right now. I'm a piece of shit for not being on holiday. But it'll also like make you forget who you are and the active choice that you made to not go on holiday. Or if, maybe this isn't applicable to everyone, but I have found that when I am staring at social media, I am not staring as me. I'm kind of staring as kind of a husk. And the only thoughts that I'm having are kind of very broad thoughts, only related to the thing that I'm looking at right now. They're not thought. They don't come from my brain. They don't come from, they're reactive. They don't really come from the essence of me. So maybe if you are like coming away from social media with a lot of these thoughts, kind of maybe know that they aren't really coming from you. They're kind of reactive thoughts. I don't know. I've just found that I have often forgotten who I am, what my plan was. Like, could be Anton. Could be, here, me and the lads, we're actually going to go to a rave. And I'm like, ugh, would not be into that. A standing rave, yeah. And it starts at 2 a.m. Oh, I'm not into that. Do you know what I mean? But then if I saw pictures of it, I'd be like, oh, what's wrong with me? But I forget who I am and what I've done and the decision that I've made not to go You know what I mean? You just kind of forget these things. It's insane. It's almost like Will Smith coming in with a Men in Black little thing going, pew! You've forgotten who you are. And also, here's a fucking smack. Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. 7. This is a weird one, but it works. If you're flustered or anxious or having a bit of all right, not feeling great right now, stand up, inhale sharply through your nose, then exhale with a loud, audible sigh, and then smile and put your hands on your hips. It's mental. It's mental. You'll look like Superman. You look like Bizarro World Superman having, an anxiety attack. But you kind of are. Do you know what I mean? But either way, there's a couple of techniques, like power poses make you feel better. Standing up, hands on your hips. Smiling when you're in a bad mood can sometimes actually take you out of it. And then an actual kind of just resetting your breathing also works. And I've found that using all three when I'm alone actually does kind of takes the serious edge off whatever the funk that I'm in. A weird little kind of change of state thing that I do sometimes. Number 8, frozen gyozas are actually only 155 calories, right? For like 8 gyozas. That's mad. You would think they're loads because they're so tasty. And soy's nothing in. Soy sauce is nothing. Might be a bit of sodium you'd be getting. Veggie gyozas maybe even lower. Prawn gyozas maybe even a bit more than the veggie ones. But, for a pack of crisps, pack of hunky dory, you could be eating 8 gyozas. So just think about that. And also by the pageantry of having to go and make the gyozas kind of limits the snacking time that you're in. And then sitting down in front of the TV eating a bunch of gyozas. You're a classy fuck. You're not going to be drinking a pint of ice cream after that. Do you know what I mean? But 1 pack crisp might be 2 pack crisps. But if it's like, all right, this is kind of a hot meal I'm making myself here. Eat 8 gyozas. There you are. 9 as well in the same vein. I found I have those Guinness NitroSurge things at home. And I'd be very rarely having more than 2. Usually only 1. Just the pageantry of having to get up, clean a glass, dry the glass, pour it in 2 parts and all that crap really just is like, I couldn't be fucking faffed, to be honest. So when I have them, it really limits. If I had just like 4 beers, 4 cans of Heineken or something like that, I might drink them. I might tuck into a 3rd or a 4th. So adding a bit of pageantry could make it better and limit how much you're going to do. That's kind of 2 for 1 there. This is one I stole off Jerry Seinfeld, and it makes sense. If you've now he has it about writing jokes, but if you've made something that day, any kind of creative endeavor, or maybe you put together a deck for the presentation that you have to give the following day, but you're really quite chuffed with it. If you're really proud of it and you're kind of buzzing a bit, like, oh, that was a good day, I made that thing. Don't show anyone that day. Don't let anyone's outside opinion of it change that, because you could end up losing what was a very motivating, positive day. And then the next day you can maybe show someone, but at least your mood isn't directly linked with that thing that you made yesterday. If you made it today, your mood is probably directly linked. Your worth might be linked with that thing. So don't show anyone, even if it's class and even if you're chuffed with it, because I've had that where I've spent a long time maybe making a video and I show someone like, oh, can you edit that? I'm like, I kind of thought I had fucking smashed the back doors out of today with that video. And now I don't have and now I've done nothing. You know what I mean? So he has it with jokes. If you write a joke and then you show someone, they're like, yeah, maybe you can work on that. You'll be able to tolerate that kind of criticism the next day, and you may even have been more motivated to do more that day as well. So something to consider there. Don't show anyone within the same day. This is a weird one, right? I think I've talked about this before. There are layers, I don't even want to say to fame, right? But to the reach of your friends. There's like, so say if you put something online, your friends might see it, and that's class. Whether that's a funny video, that might be a closed group, like a WhatsApp group. It might be something you put on your Instagram, and all your friends are kind of commenting on it and sharing it. And then that expands to friends of friends, and then eventually to people you don't know, and then eventually to like a lot of people, viral maybe, right? But there's a beauty to all of those layers. Don't put value over one over the other. I mean, I know it's like, yeah, no shit, I'd rather go viral than my mates just like it. Do you know what I mean? But Yeah, there's no way you're going to do this. Do you know what I mean? If you put something out and it doesn't do how you want it to do, and only your mates like it. But if your mates do like it, or if it's, and I mean this even not if it's like a video, but like a podcast, a lot of people are turned off the idea of starting a podcast or doing anything like that because they think, yeah, but only like my mates would hear. That'd be class. I want to live in a world where all of the topics that I'm interested in are covered in podcasts by my friends. I know for a lot of people that's their idea of absolute fucking hell, right? But not me. I would just love, and there's layers to this whole, as you know, you telling me that, you know, your two mates that know a little bit more about comics than you do, talking about the Penguin and doing a podcast about it, you know, breaking down each episode. You tell me you wouldn't listen to that shit? You're already giving that interest to someone that you don't know. And who's to say they know more than you do? Do you know what I mean? Or they know more than your mates. There's layers to this whole thing. You know, someone doing a podcast breaking down Match of the Day. Like, wouldn't be for me. But, I just think that there are layers to this thing, and don't rule out doing something fun just because only your mates are going to hear it. Or just that mates of mates are going to hear it. Don't always be looking at the next layer to justify why this layer that you're in was not successful. Do you know what I mean? Cherish it, love it. Do you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. Right, this is a bit of a, I don't really have like a word play for this one. This is kind of literally just something that I did, but it kind of speaks to a larger kind of thing that I should do better with, right? But don't skip covering your stuff before you drill stuff. And what this basically speaks to is, right, I was drilling stuff in the shed, and actually the whole me fixing up the shed was a much longer process because I skipped the not as fun step. Like, I should have in one afternoon cleared everything out of the shed, and then I would have had a lot of time to paint it. Instead, I left all the shit in it, and then I was moving shit around, putting it over from one side to the other. It took ages, and then I was painting it, and then I was getting paint all over my shit. All right? But I'm stubborn like that. I doubled down. I kept going. Then I didn't take all the shit out when I was drilling holes in to start putting up shelves, hanging stuff on the wall, dust everywhere. Then I needed to drill like a little cable management system underneath my desk. And I spent about an hour lying on my back trying to drill a hole up rather than just taking the stuff off my table and turning the table upside down. As soon as I did eventually do that, it took 5 minutes. So a lot of the time there's a more fucking sweet dopamine job that you can picture, usually drilling, right? But it's all part of the process, the whole plan. You'll end up wasting so much more time by skipping what you think is not the fun job, even though you think, no, I want to get straight to the juicy job. Most of you are probably wise enough to know that, but I wasn't. So I need it as literal as don't skip covering your stuff before you drill. That's my bit of advice. When I wrote this one, I think I was feeling all airy-fairy, but look, I'll say it, right? Number 13, I don't think you'll ever get in trouble asking someone anything out of curiosity and with respect. Do you know what I mean? Out of curiosity and love. Like, if you don't fully know what all of the letters in the LGBTQ plus and so on mean, you can ask someone. You can ask someone, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? If you don't understand someone's pronouns, you can ask them. If you're asking kind of out of curiosity and love, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you'll get a nice answer and probably go up in someone's estimations for just asking a direct question. I imagine as well about people who maybe have a disability or something, and maybe don't open with it. Do you know what I mean? But like, I think a lot of people are scared to talk about things for in case they get it wrong, and they kind of build up barriers. But I feel like if you ask something out of curiosity and love, then 9 times out of 10 you're not really going to upset the person, but maybe form a better bond or a better friendship. I mean, yeah, no shit. But also I think you can apply that to differing opinions, like political opinions, different opinions on, conservative opinions of where things kind of stem from, where that opinion stems from. And I think when you ask out of curiosity and love, you can actually start a bit of a discourse rather than saying, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I want to tell you why you're wrong. No shit. I don't know. That's a bit airy-fairy for me now, to be perfectly honest, especially in the mood I'm in. All right, number 14. A good vibe in a workspace can boost your productivity tenfold, I have found. A lot of people like work from home and they go back to the same desk and they don't really experiment around and they're like, I hate my job. And that's fine. And you might, but maybe experiment with your workspace. You might find that a different vibe changes your productivity. I'm good, for example, at like getting locked into like editing a video or something like that when I'm in like a dark, dim room. But if I need to like come up with a lot of ideas or write stand-up or podcast, for example, having a room that's a bit more wide or bright, or this car, for example, that I'm in, I find that what might take a long time in a dark room recording a podcast, I can do a lot quicker and come up with a lot more ideas, or I get more in a flow state of like speaking when I have a view when I'm outside. So I'd say experiment with workspaces. I genuinely have now the workspaces that work best for the tasks that I'm doing. I mean, you can also walk and talk. If you have to take a load of calls, walking, you might find yourself, especially if there's something quite demanding that you have to kind of problem solve over the call. I'd recommend walking rather than kind of staying in the same place. Your state has a lot more to. Tony Robbins always says, state, story, solution. I think that's it. So if you change your state, like stand up or maybe move your body a bit, and then change the story, change what you kind of think about yourself or what you think about the situation, then you're more likely to find the solution in the third step. But he finds it hard to, like, when you feel at an impasse, to get to the solution without changing your state and then changing your story first in those orders, if that makes sense. Well, yeah, kind of on that, number 15, your mood can be far more important than your knowledge, right? Your actual mood might limit how you can see the resources of things. Picture your brain like a library, right? And you have all the solutions or all the knowledge in there to like sort out a situation or say the right thing in an argument. But when you're in a bad mood, it's like going into a library and only being able to take out the red books. Do you know what I mean? Only red books you can take out, and then that really limits what you can do and see. Everything else is like, no, not that, only red books, or whatever it is. I'm saying red because red is anger. Does that make sense? I feel like I can't really dip into my full capacity of my brain, of course, when I'm in a bad mood. And I think that's the thing that needs to be kind of respected, or allow yourself to kind of change your mood before you make a decision. And whether that's, I mean, it's basically saying don't make a decision in a bad mood. I mean, it's no shit, but I've come up with a new cool analogy for it. Right, next one. 16, chicken thighs are great in the air fryer. Class, just bang a bit of five spice on there. You're laughing. That's it. Delicious, easy protein. People be like, oh, a bit of fat in there. You want fucking lean chicken breast? Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? What were you eating before? All right, so that's better. Do you know what I mean? You eating a bit more chicken skin than crisps is fine. Do you know what I mean? Don't be letting anyone, just chicken breast. Fuck that. Do you know what I mean? Bang chicken thighs in. You can't really get it wrong. 12 minutes. They're great. 17. If you don't know, this is kind of a thought process I use when I kind of challenge an idea for something I might want to do on stage or something I might want to do as a sketch. Something that isn't just like a straight up joke or whatever. If you don't know if you can't visualize what minute 2 of this idea kind of looks like, then you don't really have an idea. So if you don't know, so say I come out as a sexy cat and I have my opening line, I'm like, all right, that's funny. I can keep doing kind of weird little puns. That's fine, but it's kind of the same thing. Minute 2. So what I got to do? I got to like do what a cat would do, and turn that into like a striptease. And then I have what the different things a cat would do. It's like I remember seeing someone coming out doing the Masked Singer on the Late Late Show, and with like Olaf the Snowman. I think I talked about it on the podcast. And it wasn't a very good song. It didn't sound great. But like essentially it was like, oh, look at this laugh, it's Olaf. And then the rest of it is like, oh, we're actually just watching someone now sing a really sincere song as Olaf the Snowman in costume with very limited movement. You know what I mean? And it's not like RTE has the ability to like then cut to the audience to get unbelievable reactions. You know what I mean? Just kind of locked in on this Olaf dancing around singing a song. So I often think if you don't really know what minute 2 kind of looks like, you know, if someone's like, look, I'm just going to go out there, I'm just going to kind of thank people and say a few words about why we're here, you know. People often just say that kind of shit and they're like, yeah, but have you thought about the kind of words that you're going to say a few words? You know what I mean? People often are like, oh, I can kind of see the start of it and I'm just fucking just pulling on every romantic hope that it goes well. Essentially, a lot of people do that. So, I don't know. I always just think, all right, if I'm now 60 seconds into this, is it any different? Or is the fact that it isn't different adding to it? Is it heightening it because I'm doing a joke to death or something? So, kind of, yeah, if you can think about what minute 2 looks like, and then ideally minute 3, you know, but I'm just saying that a lot of people go out there with a plan and think, oh, that's a funny kind of opening thing. But what now? Now what? So if you don't have minute 2 visualized, then you don't really have a plan. Number 18. Kids will endure anything with enough snacks. You can bring them to rugby games or whatever, and they can eat snacks. Wrestling, probably. Haven't brought them to wrestling yet. Bring them out and about to like, brought my young fella to like Comic Cons and stuff. And it's exciting and stuff, and it's interesting, but it would just with enough snacks, honestly, you can kind of just get them to sit, whatever. We sat through Ireland beating New Zealand with a 2-year-old, and he was just fucking, you know, he was kind of fucking full. Like, I put him up on my shoulders afterwards, and he almost broke my back. Do you know what I mean? I was absolutely stuffing him, but we did get to sit through the whole match. Flights, all that kind of stuff. You know, you're not going to do it all the time. You're not going to give him fucking 7 bags of crisps all the time. So save it for when you need to. Number 19, don't resent the person that you hired to fix you. All right? I think it's always a slippery slope to have friends or partners involved in any kind of like correcting process. You know, if any kind of, I have this bad habit, I need help, I would like you all to kind of like help me with it or whatever. You know, unless it's something quite serious and everyone's all in, because if you don't, it could mean serious damage to your life or whatever like that. That's one thing. But like, it was like, yeah, well, like, you know, my partner doesn't like me going to bed later. So yeah, I probably should go to bed earlier, you know. Then that person might think that's something you actually do want to change about your life, and they might try and assist you, and then you could end up down the line resenting them for that. So I'd be reluctant to give over at them to kind of save face. If you are who you are, so if you do like to stay up late, obviously staying up late every single night, you're going to be sluggish. It's going to have a knock-on effect, you know, whatever. But you don't need to kind of like sell your personality traits short to kind of pander to a partner. And then sometimes what can happen is you can say there's things you don't like about yourself. You can say, look, I don't like the fact that I always go for the dirtiest takeaway option, whatever it might be. And then your partner trying to correct that, being like, no, hang on, no, you said, you know. I would only ever reserve those kind of like other people get involved in my shit when it's life or death. I would be very reluctant to seek, just to placate someone, to seek someone's help. No, I would like help with that. Maybe you don't do this, but I found myself sometimes saying these things, being like, no, yeah, I actually don't like that about me either. I could actually, you know, I will change that or whatever shit. And then I'm like, I kind of don't want to change that. And now I kind of resent you for making me want to change. But I put this on you. Do you know what I mean? I put this on the partner. I made this partner into some sort of, I made this partner like a fucking PT for some stupid shit like fucking staying up late playing video games. Do you know what I mean? Just you are who you are. So you don't have to. Maybe this is bad advice, actually. Maybe this is bad advice. Don't ever change. But don't ever let anyone get involved in like the project of you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to resent that in the long run. You don't need to change. Number 20, plan a wank. Plan a wank. Plan a good wank. If you have a freer, plan the wank. Plan, if it's a video or a magazine or whatever like that, just plan a wank. They're class. If you have number 21, if you've got like a speech or like a draft of something that you're kind of nervous about and you don't know if it's good or not, just like show a mate. Just show a mate first. You know, show a mate that you trust, or show a mate that has a similar sense of taste than you do. Sometimes people are so reluctant to show anything kind of creative at all that they either don't show anyone at all, or they only show it for the first time in the most public setting. And I used to think for a while that like getting input on jokes was kind of like cheating or something, or was allowing someone else's artistic voice to shape my voice. But show a mate, like show people who know and allow them to, because you'll learn what will resonate with people better. I mean, if you want to do just what makes your core art without alternating, that's totally fine, but like it might not connect in the way that you kind of hope that it will. Sometimes it's good to, I like to view it sometimes as like you have this kind of core kind of essence, and then there's various techniques and then assistance that you can get to make it, that essence, as palatable to the people who you want it to be palatable as possible. You know? And you could think that's, oh, you're fucking just changing your shit to placate other people, but I don't really view it that way. Oh, I put this one in twice. Don't skip the annoying part of an exciting job. I put that in twice. All right, fuck, so I'm 36 here. All right, number 23. Ryanair beers are always lukewarm. Don't buy them. Don't ever buy them. They're never good. They're always lukewarm. You always think, oh, maybe this is the time that they have been in a fridge. No, they're always lukewarm. Just buy a mixer in the duty free, and ask for like some ice or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or just the beers are always shite. Just don't buy them. Number 24. People love giving advice. You should ask them. Whatever it is, if there's someone in a job position that you like in LinkedIn that isn't related to your company, you can actually send them a message being like, how did you go about getting that? Or what are like 5 things that you would tell someone in my position to get to where you're going to be? People love that shit. Yeah, people love responding to that shit. I don't think I've ever asked anyone advice and not gotten it. And I always give it because I love sounding my own voice. So, yeah, give that a shot. Number 25. I know I was talking about like journaling and the kind of morning pages thing. A lot of people don't really know how to do it. So I borrowed something from Tim Ferriss where he says that he writes his books, and I think he journals this way as well, as if he's writing like an email to his friend. But you might want to be a bit more honest than that. So like kind of journal as if you're writing to like someone who is like zero judgment, who just laughs at absolutely everything, every insane thought that you have. Number 26. I've been talking about this a lot. So it is number 26. Cherish the hunt and value wasting time in the hunt. Now, for me, the hunt has been retro video games, all the toys that I wanted when I was a kid. And I'm getting as big a buzz from actually holding them and playing with them as I am finding ones that I've forgotten about online. And that's a bit more easy to do and accessible. And, add to basket. Put that on a watch list on eBay. Oof. That's quality. You know what I mean? So like cherish that part of not starting yet. Do you know what I mean? If it's something that you just have an interest in, I'm going to get into collecting these. I'm going to get into collecting all the old Premier League stickers that I used to have. Like don't look at you looking at old Premier League stickers as a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? Convince yourself that you are going to own all these someday and just get fucking lost in the hunt of it all. It's a great hobby. Number 27, I kind of touched on this a little bit. If you're mad at someone, write out your anger and then kind of reflect on it. Do you know what I mean? And you'll probably likely realize that you were wrong. I can only really speak for myself here. But I've found that if I'm really angry, especially if I'm angry at someone's reaction to something that I've done and I'm in the wrong. You know what I mean? I did something in the wrong. They were angry about it. I thought that anger was too great a response for the thing that I did. I need to then just go away and just write down. And even though I'm in the wrong, you might feel reluctant, and you're in the wrong. You might be reluctant to then start writing, fucking stupid fucking prick. Do you know what I mean? But I actually would recommend it. I would recommend. You can burn the page after, you can rip it up. Whoever it is, your best mate, someone you love, someone that if they read what you said, they would be absolutely and utterly heartbroken, and they would never understand. They'd never look at you the same way again. Write it all down, and then feel bad, and then put it into perspective and then realize you were wrong. That's what I do sometimes, and it's handy for me. Have an analog hobby is one I'd recommend. I'd recommend anyone get a hobby that isn't connected to the internet, which is not necessarily the definition of analog, but like vinyl, the guitar, a handheld gaming console. That doesn't sound analog either, but you are kind of still online. Reading comics, anything like that. I really think if you're looking to reduce your kind of phone time, having something like that you can actually just slot into that isn't online. I mean, it's insane. There used to be in the 70s or the 80s, be like, that fucker, he's just in his fucking room all day playing the guitar, wasting his life. Now he'd be like, he's in the fucking room all day playing the guitar. He's amazing. Well, like, we're all judging this based on not on your phone the whole time. All he does is just read car magazines. If someone was just reading car magazines, I would honestly, but comparatively, because they're not on the phone, I'd be like, that's amazing. Look at them, like a savant. That's incredible. Wasting their time. Fucking, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I just think we have less judgment on these things now, because then TV came along and it was like, oh, wasting your time just watching TV all the time. Now it's wasting your time just being on the internet. Then it was wasting your time being online all the time, wasting your time being on your phone all the time. And now we're all just wasting our time being on the phone all the time. So try an analog hobby. Number 29. This is kind of based on respecting the reach, and your mates might see something that you made, and then mates of mates, and then strangers. Make a podcast with your mates and just steal an existing podcast from something that you like. It's fun. You'll have great crack. I have made so many podcasts with my mates over the years that have been online temporarily on Tumblr, and then they've disappeared. They were on SoundCloud, now they're gone. I listen back to them fondly and I laugh my ass off. They made me really happy. I love having recordings like that. Recordings of staged kind of conversations. You know what I mean? It's a really rare kind of thing. And it probably, you hear more from your friends than you would just kind of recapping. You really get to know your friends. I would highly recommend anyone start a podcast, even if it's just voice notes that one of you edits together or whatever. Number 30, getting sacked is actually harder than you think. Someone who's been sacked a lot. It's taken a long time every time. And it's always been based on poor performance or being late all the time. But what I realize now with that is it's never been for like setting boundaries. Do you know what I mean? I've had managers like talk down to me in front of other people and make me feel really small and make me feel really angry. Or people who weren't even my superiors talk down to me. And I never like set boundaries. Now, I wouldn't be a good man for setting boundaries because I was doing fuck all to begin with. So I can only imagine what those boundaries would look like. Probably me, here, look, you just need to not talk to me while I'm in here. Do you know what I mean? Use a wreck in my head. Be something stupid like that. But if your boss is like telling you off in front of people, or is doing appraisals every single day, you're not going to get sacked by saying, I think I'm finding these appraisals every single day a little demotivating. And can I suggest that we do them every 2 weeks? Would that be all right? And then if you haven't seen any kind of poor result of my, my work, maybe we even then spread that out to a month or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I wonder, I've never really seen, as long as it's, not some fucking numpty shit you've seen on TikTok being like, excuse me, boss, I was just wondering, can I get overtime for the 5 minutes I stayed last night? All that shit. You don't want to be doing that shit. But actually setting boundaries, you're not really like, actually by raising issues like setting boundaries, it's going to make them harder to sack you because you've kind of outlined something that you were not happy about. It's the quiet people that have been like, yeah, no, everything's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But if you actually have said to your boss, look, I'm not happy with kind of our relationship or something like that. I mean, I don't work in an office. Maybe this is fucking stupid advice. But I would say, as someone who's been fired from a lot of retail jobs, it's never been for like having conversations about how I think it could be working better. Do you know what I mean? How I think I could be doing my job better. Or whatever it might be. Things I'm not happy with in work that I think could be improved upon and improve my efficiency. I think people are reluctant to kind of raise their head above the parapet sometimes. but you're not going to get sacked for that. Do you know what I mean? You get sacked for being shy, and there might be issues in your work that are making your work shy. Right, next one. 31. Don't be snobby about the mode in which you learn. If you just spent an afternoon reading Wikipedia about ancient Egypt, that's class. Good for you. It's like reading a book about ancient Egypt. Good for you. Do you know what I mean? If you listen to a podcast about fucking, I don't know, the Mothman, but you didn't read the book about the Mothman, so what? You listen to the podcast about the Mothman. That's still, you would probably think, oh, sitting down and listening or reading a book for 2 hours about the Mothman. You know the Mothman? That might be more valuable or better than listen to a podcast that was 2 hours long. Do you know what I mean? There's levels of snobbery sometimes to the ways in which we learn, that I often put things like, books or audiobooks on a certain high level, that I'm like, oh, if I wanted to learn about something, I'd do it from like a book or an audiobook. And he's like, oh, well, I've heard that story, I'm going to wait and read the book. I probably won't. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind actually just getting my information even in the less refined sense. So don't be snobby, just learn. Number 32. If you're going to lie to yourself, then do it well, right? Your brain will choose to be very selective about the evidence when it makes up its mind about you, right? You said a joke, it landed on its arse in your group, with your group of mates, and you're like, I'm a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Your brain's been very selective there, calling you a piece of shit, because the only reason you said the joke is because you've such a high success rate with your mates of people laughing. So if you're going to lie to yourself, why not lie right back and say, I'm fucking gas, right? Why don't you walk around being like, I'm gas, my mates think I'm gas. You know what I mean? If you're going to be selective with the evidence, if you're late for work one day and your boss is kind of like, look, it was a really important day today. Look, I just need you. I'm a bit stressed as well today. I just need you to get your shit together, Pretty harsh, to be fair, for just coming in late. But be like, okay, look, I'm going to get, I'm a piece of shit. I came in late today. I didn't come in late the other times. In fact, I've had pretty good appraisals. Just, you're very seldom going to be selective actively rather than passively, selective with your evidence. A lot of times something will just happen to you and you'll be like, I'm a piece of shit. Right? But if you're going to lie to yourself, because that is a lie, why don't you just lie to yourself all day? Do you know what I mean? There's more evidence a lot of the time to counter what you're saying. Number 33, walk and work. I'm telling you, you get a lot more done just walking around. Number 34, Blu-rays are fucking mad cheap. I went in, I got a load of Blu-rays. I got 3 for €1, right? And that included one. I got 3. I got Akira on Blu-ray. I got Blade Runner on Blu-ray. And I had the entire Matrix trilogy on Blu-ray for €1. They're mad cheap. And if you used to be getting DVDs, Blu-rays are so much better than DVDs, particularly for the sound. And if you're thinking, well, Blu-rays aren't the next gen, it's all gone 4K and all that stuff, the difference in that is fairly minimal, right? It's it's there, but it's not as significant as a jump from DVD to Blu-rays. So if you kind of fell off the kind of DVD vibe, get back into Blu-rays, man. There's loads of flicks that are not on Netflix. Here's one, right? Might only be applicable. No, I think you can apply for yourself, right? I found myself a lot of the time not writing very good jokes because I thought it was too obvious, right? Because I thought it was too obvious for me. But sometimes I would confuse what fits rather than what's obvious. Do you know what I mean? I might find, oh, well, that fits too well. So that's going to be obvious. People are just going to roll their eyes at that. And then I find myself doing the joke that I think is a throwaway and getting a big response. And I'm like, oh, I thought that was really obvious. And I'm like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it that way. So don't confuse sometimes don't confuse something fitting with being obvious and not worth doing. Oh, that fits too well, I'm not going to do it, All right, 2 more here. If you want to get into DVD, but you find the rules a bit intense, right, try a thing called Fate. That's like D&D without being as strict on the rules. It's pretty handy. Or if you're playing D&D and it's all hit points and all this kind of shit and you have to do all the maths, right, just do something simple, right? A mouse, if you roll over a 5 with a 20-sided die, the mouse is hit and killed. If you roll over an 8, for a goblin, for example, the goblin is hit and killed. And then you can be like, I fucking fire an arrow. Oh, I got a 9 class. Shoot a fucking arrow, go straight to his fucking head. He's dead. You know what I mean? You can do that shit rather than whittling down hit points and all that shit. And then if it's like a dragon or something like that, or requires a lot of hit points, then just be like, do you know what? We're all just going to roll 20-sided die and we have to get over 12. And only over 12s are hits. and he has 8 total hits. You know what I mean? Like a hit life of 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be like 2 rounds or 3 rounds of your D&D party. Sometimes things can go on, and maybe you just want to talk a little bit more about the cool way in which you kill shit rather than like whittling down hit points. Oh, the beast is finally defeated. Feel free to change shit up. Do you know what I mean? You're playing. There's no fucking adjudicator from D&D sitting behind you. Now, that's for people who know about D&D but haven't played yet. And number 37, opinions are usually based on people's evidence that they've like accrued, not based on the fact that they've. So if someone has a differing opinion of you, of something, and it's the opposite of something you feel very strongly about, they likely have accrued different evidence. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they saw your same evidence and took different facts from it. So maybe just consider that when people have such a strong opinion, because we're very quick to like assume everyone has the full picture, which is your picture, which may not even be the full picture, but is a different opinion. We think because we see everything on our feeds that everyone has access to the exact same news bubble that we're in, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of older people don't. So don't assume someone having what seems like a very egregious different opinion based on all of your evidence that they've already read. You know what I mean? That's not really how it works. They have their own evidence they've read that was probably very poorly put together, and they made up their mind. So there you have it. 37 tips that I wish I had when I was 27. Hope you enjoyed that. When I have 365, I'm going to release a book. I love you dearly. I need to sleep. Fuck, I'm going on Ray Darcy now. All right, all the best. Bye-bye.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.